No, no, no.
And remember, don't eat the yellow snow. Giddy up! Here!
How can I help you?
Move on! Move on!
There's something hypnotizing about that fire.
Onward!
Let's see, I'm building the resource storage 2 right now. Right?
Onward! Let's go!
I need to
Move
get
on!
points to open up the kitchen. I mean the food storage too.
Onward! Move on! Via! Here! Let's go!
Kitchen 2, I just put that up. Can I reach? Another food storage. Reach. 31. I'll go with that for a while. Should go in here. Mm. Oh, must be clean. Whatever. No, I did bring more for you. Gosh. Thick stones, right? Oh. Oh, I need to sleep. That's what I need to do. Where's my house? This is my house. I just took a bath. Where is my house? Yes. Where's my wife?
My legs hurt.
Where'd you go? Mm. There's a baby. Baby Gracie. Come on, you have an egg I need to collect and I can't point at it.
Let's go.
Oh gosh.
I don't care if he's the only server in this damn place. My beer's been empty for 10 minutes. They're short a server or two tonight. I don't care if he's the only server in this damn place. My beer's been empty for 10 minutes. And my wine.
I'm loving all this beer knowledge. I could listen to it all day. By the way, I'm not keeping you from over too. No, I'm all yours. Yeah, it's a misconception that double IPAs are going to be hoppier than singles.
They're actually malty. Hey, you.
Oh, hey, Tim, do you need something?
Yeah, I need my damn server. He ain't been by here since he took our
We
order.
have never been ignored like these. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Probably because he got a preacher.
A what?
A preacher. I probably shouldn't say anything, but he was bragging about it. That guy over there came in and tipped him like $100 right when he sat down.
What the hell? Before he got service?
$100? Yep. Guess to make sure he got special attention. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it. If you tip at the end, it's too late to encourage good service.
I thought it was like a reward. Damn it, that's some bullshit right there.
Here, I can help you.
No, this ain't right. That motherfucker just rides in throwing $100 bills around, and now Brad just ignores the rest of us. Is that right?
Can I get you another beer?
After all the times we come in here, we ain't...
No. Glad you like the pairing. It's
Onward.
perfect. You're right about the acidity.
Sorry to interrupt. I know you're paying by the hour here, but I need a beer. Listen, just because he's stuffing hundreds in your pants don't mean you can ignore us over yonder.
What is this?
I'll tell you what this is. I ain't gonna just sit there like a three-legged dog while you bogart my server. You got something you want to say about that? No. Now get me another beer and Pam needs another wine. Okay. Pre-kick my ass. I'm about to pre-kick your ass, you trash.
I'm very sorry about that. I'll be right back. Just ask for Nicole next time. I don't have any crazy regulars.
Nicole, there's bleeding in my salad. Where in the hell is Brad? I wonder if they're short a server or two tonight. I don't care if he's the only...
Very sorry about that. I'll be right back. Just ask for Nicole next time. I don't have any crazy regulars.
Nicole, there's bleeding in my salad. Where in the hell is Brad? I wonder if they're short of...
Oh, hello. I just bought a bunch of ground chicken at Sam's Club, so let's whip up a 15-minute chicken and rice delight. Shall we?
All right, add 1 pound of ground chicken to a hot oil pan, season it with some salt and some pepper, then break it up and cook it till there's no longer any pink. Then grab a bowl, transfer it to the bowl, set it aside, add 8 ounces of sliced mushrooms and 4 calamari tomatoes cut in half. Put them skin side down and then boot one of them for good luck. Cook them until they start to soften and then flip them over and continue to cook them till you're happy with them. Once you are, add a tablespoon of butter, 1.5 cups of chicken broth. Give that a quick stir, deglaze it a little bit, and then bring it to a boil. Get that chicken back, ploop it on top, add 1 cup of thawed frozen peas, and it's fine. If you don't like peas, don't add them. It's no big deal. I'm going to keep them. Season everything with some salt and some pepper, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of dried chives, 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes. Stir that in, bring it to a boil one last time. Let it simmer for at least 5 minutes and then turn the heat off. Grab a bowl of rice. It doesn't matter if you cook your own rice or if you just use one of those packages. Either way, cover it with this meat and vegetables and a little bit of that sauce. You're definitely going to want the sauce. If you have some dried chives left in your pocket, sprinkle them on there. Grab a fork, scoop up a little bite, and put the whole thing in your mouth.
Oh, yeah. I'm into this. I mean, it's delicious. It's easy. Took what? 15 minutes? And it's healthy. So if you got some ground chicken and you want to try something new, it's not a heavy tomato sauce, but delicious, give it a shot. I'll see you in the comments. Oh, hello. I just bought a bunch of ground chicken at Sam's Club, so let's whip up a 15-minute chicken and rice delight. Shall we?
All right, add 1 pound of ground chicken to a hot oil pan, season it with some salt and some pepper, then break it up and cook it till there's no longer any pink. Then grab a bowl, transfer it to the bowl, set it aside, add 8 ounces of sliced mushrooms and 4 calamari tomatoes cut in half. Put them skin side down and then boot one of them for good luck. Cook them until they start to soften and then flip them over and continue to cook them till you're happy with them. Once you are, add a tablespoon of butter, 1.5 cups of chicken broth. Give that a quick stir, deglaze it a little bit, and then bring it to a boil. Get that chicken back, ploop it on top, add 1 cup of thawed frozen peas, and it's fine. If you don't like peas, don't add them. It's no big deal. I'm going to keep them. Season everything with some salt and some pepper, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of dried chives, 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes. Stir
Said I was
that in,
done. Where's my food?
boil one last time. Let it simmer for
Give
at
me
least
my
5
food storage
minutes and then
too.
turn the heat off. Grab a bowl of rice. It doesn't matter if you cook your own rice.
Give me
or
one
just use
storage.
Either way,
What?
cover it with this meat and vegetables and a little bit of that sauce. You're definitely going to want the sauce. If you have some dried chives left in your pocket, sprinkle them on there. Grab a fork, scoop up a big old bite, and put the whole thing in your mouth.
Oh, yeah. I'm into this. I mean, it's delicious. It's easy. Took what? 15 minutes? And it's healthy. So if you got some ground chicken and you want to try something new, it's not a heavy tomato sauce, but delicious, give it a shot. I'll see you in the comments. Oh, hello. I just bought a bunch of ground chicken at Sam's Club, so let's whip up a 15-minute chicken and rice delight. Shall we?
Alright, add 1 pound of ground chicken to a hot oiled pan, season it with some salt and some pepper, break it up and cook it till there's no longer any pink. Then grab a bowl, transfer it to the bowl, set it aside, add 8 ounces of sliced mushrooms and 4 calamari tomatoes cut in half, put them skin side down and then boot one of them. For good luck, cook them until they start to soften and then flip them over and continue to cook them till you're happy with them. Once you are, add a tablespoon of butter, 1.5 cups of chicken broth, give that a quick stir, deglaze it a little bit, and then bring it to a boil. Get the chicken back, ploop it on top, add 1 cup of thawed frozen peas.
Gave you an
If you
axe,
don't
too.
like peas, don't add them. It's no big deal. I'm going to keep season everything with some salt, and some pepper, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of dried chives, 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes. Stir that in, bring it to a boil one last time. Let it simmer for at least 5 minutes and then turn the heat off. Grab a bowl of rice. It doesn't matter if you cook your own rice or if you just use one of those packages. Either way, cover it with this meat and vegetables and a little bit of that sauce. You're definitely going to want the sauce. If you have some dried chives left in your pocket, sprinkle them on there. Grab a fork, scoop up a big old bite, and put the whole thing in your mouth.
Oh yeah, I'm into this. I mean, it's delicious. It's easy.
Oh.
15 minutes. And it's healthy. So if you got some ground chicken and you want to try something new, it's not a heavy tomato sauce, but delicious. Give it a shot. I'll see you in a
Couple
couple
logs.
minutes. Hello. I just bought a bunch of ground chicken at Sam's Club, so let's whip up a 15-minute chicken and rice delight. Shall we?
Alright, add 1 pound of ground chicken to a hot oiled pan, season it with some salt and some pepper, then break it up and cook it till there's no longer any pink. Then grab a bowl, transfer it to the bowl, set it aside, add 8 ounces of sliced mushrooms and 4 calamari tomatoes cut in half, put them skin side down and then boot one of them. For good luck, cook them until they start to soften and then flip them over and continue to cook them till you're happy with them. Once you are, add a tablespoon of butter, 1.5 cups of chicken broth, give that a quick stir, deglaze it a little bit, and then bring it to a boil. Get the chicken back, ploop it on top, add 1 cup of thawed frozen peas. It's fine. If you don't like peas, don't add them. It's no big deal. I'm going to keep it. Season everything with some salt and some pepper, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of dried chives, 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes. Stir that in, bring it to a boil one last time. Let it simmer for at least 5 minutes and then turn the heat off. Grab a bowl of rice. It doesn't matter if you cook your own rice or if you just use one of those packages. Either way, cover it with this meat and vegetables and a little bit of that sauce. You're definitely going to want the sauce. If you have some dried chives left in your pocket, sprinkle them on there. Grab a fork, scoop up a big old bite, and put the whole thing in your mouth.
Oh yeah, I'm into this. I mean, it's delicious. It's easy. Took what? 15 minutes? And it's healthy. So if you got some ground chicken and you want to try something new, it's not a heavy tomato sauce, but delicious, give it a shot. I'll see you in the car. Hello. I just bought a bunch of ground chicken at Sam's Club, so let's whip up a 15-minute chicken and rice delight. Shall we?
Alright, add 1
How
pound of ground
and
chicken
when
to
do
a
they
hot
add me
oiled
my
pan, season with
points?
some salt and some pepper, then break it up and cook
What,
it till there's no
94?
longer any pink. Then grab a bowl, transfer it to the bowl, set it aside, add 8 ounces of sliced mushrooms and 4 calamari tomatoes cut in half, put them skin side down and then boot one of them for good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Tarts
had this video
on
uploaded
there.
yesterday, but I took it down
Is
to
that it? Just
fix
Fight
some
Radio.
visual issues with it. Well, there's a few issues in the video,
Yanks.
but I wanted to fix that too. And
IENX.
so I went through the process of fixing it, and
Spirit
then
Voices, and we
re-rendered everything. I
try
actually just
horror.
recorded a new intro for it, and in the process of getting the final render done to upload it, I realized that the old issue was gone, but there's an even bigger issue with it now. So I'm just taking out that for this video. I'm just not even going to do that whole caption thing in this video. I'll tweak it and figure it out for the next one. Yeah, I'm done messing with that. I'm not rendering this video for a 5th time again. So I'm putting this so I can slap this over the other intro where I said it was all fixed now. And I put up a poll a few days ago asking you all what the creepiest setting you thought was, like forests, liminal spaces, isolated rooms, alien worlds, and you all selected Dark Forest, unless that has changed since I first made this intro yesterday and then had to remake it. But yeah, here's a forest story. I hope you like it. Now, I'm definitely interested in hearing any feedback you have on the sound design for this one because there's a lot in it. Also, two things. First is here's another design of my Robo/Dark Somnium character. I don't know if I've shown many of you this one. I'll put it up on screen in case you want to see. It's more like a full body design instead of just the head. And the other thing I was going to say is the first two songs that play in this, including the one that's playing right now, over this little intro thing, are new songs that I made for this story. I'm going to keep working on them, see if I can make them into full-fledged songs. And a reminder that I have a new album out on my Spotify and iTunes that has a bunch of my music, some old, some new. And if you want to check it out, I'd love to know what you think. And with all that said, enjoy the video. Martin pressed the record button on the handheld unit and held it close to his mouth as he ducked under the rope the patrol officers had strung between the trees.
October 14th, 1972. George Washington Park, Centralia. Arrived on scene at approximately 9:45 in the morning. Initial assessment. 4 victims, male, adults, suspended, inverted from separate trees. All 4 wearing hunting clothing. Rifles and sidearms still on their persons. Robbery does not appear to be a motive.
Move on.
He released the button and stood still for a moment,
Giddy up.
taking in the scene properly before he moved any closer. The morning light was coming through the canopy at a low angle, catching the dew on the grass and throwing long shadows across the ground. The 4 men hung in a loose row, each from a different oak, their left ankles tied to a branch with what looked like homemade hemp rope. Their arms hung straight down toward the earth, fingers slightly curled. Their faces were dark with cool blood. He pressed record again.
The hanging configuration is deliberate and consistent across all 4 bodies.
Let's go.
Ritualistic presentation cannot be ruled out. 2 possible reference points come to mind. First, the martyrdom of St. Peter, who was crucified inverted at his own request. Second, the hanged man card in the tarot deck, which depicts a figure suspended from 1 foot in a posture nearly identical to theirs. We'll revisit both lines of thinking once more information is available.
He released the button and walked toward the nearest body. He crouched down, bringing his face level with the man's inverted head. There were small cuts all over, but the main wounds were concentrated on the torso and legs. Multiple punctures, some deep, some shallow. The surrounding tissue ragged and torn in a way that was inconsistent with a straight blade. He tilted his head and examined the margins of one of the larger wounds on the man's side.
Wounds across all visible portions of the torso appear to have been inflicted by a serrated instrument. Jagged entry points, tearing rather than clean separation of tissue. Consistent with repeated stabbing rather than a single or small number of strikes. This was not efficient. This took time. There also appears to be what I can only describe as hundreds of paper cuts all over the exposed skin.
He stood and moved to the second body, then the third, finding the same pattern each time. By the 4th, he had stopped recording and was simply looking, his hands on his coat pockets, the recorder hanging from his fingers. His apprentice, a younger man named Drew Kowalski, appeared at his shoulder. Drew had a notepad and kept glancing at it as he spoke, the way he always did when he was trying to make sure he delivered information correctly.
Jogger found them around 4 in the morning. A woman, early 30s. She runs around this park most days before work. She called it in from a payphone on Maple. Officers arrived on the scene by 4:20.
Any chance she saw anyone else out there?
She said no. Just the bodies.
Martin looked up at the nearest man's boot, at the careful knot of the rope.
Identifications.
Drew looked at his notepad.
All 4 from Seattle. They drove down together 2 days ago from a hunting trip. Carl Detman, 51. His brother Roy Detman, 48. a man named Phil Okafor, 44, and a Thomas Brightwell, 52.
4 men out of Seattle for a hunting trip. And they ended up here.
Move on.
There's a 5th man in their group. He came forward about an hour ago. Talked to one of the patrol officers. Says he stayed back in town yesterday while the other 4 went out. Claims they left in the morning and he never saw them again.
Martin looked at him.
Where is he now?
Probably still at the hotel. They were all staying at the Landers just off the main road. About a 5-minute drive.
Martin pressed record one more time as he turned and walked back toward the rope boundary.
Proceeding to interview 5th member of the hunting party. We'll update notes following interview.
He clicked it off and slipped the recorder into his coat pocket. Drew fell in a step beside him as they crossed the wet grass toward the parking area, the trees behind them still holding their grim weight in the pale October light. The room smelled like cigarettes and the particular stale warmth of a heating unit that had been running all night. Martin sat in the chair beside the small desk, Drew standing near the door with his notepad. Bob Ellers was a heavy-set man in his mid-50s, sitting on the edge of the bed with his hands clasped between his knees.
I already told all this to the officer this morning.
I know you did. And I appreciate your patience. I just need to hear it myself. How long have you known Carl, Roy, Phil, and Thomas?
Carl and I go back to high school. The others, maybe 15 years, give or take. We've all been close a long time.
And this hunting trip, had you all done this before? Come down to Centralia specifically?
Every year. This would have been our 6th time, I think. Maybe 7th. We like it out here. It's quiet. The hunting's good.
Do you know anyone in Centralia? Anyone you've gotten friendly with over the years? A local you stay in touch with?
Not really. We keep to ourselves when we're down here. It's about the hunting, not the socializing.
Is there anyone who might have known you were coming? Someone from back in Seattle? Maybe someone who knew your routine?
Bob looked at him.
You mean, like an enemy?
Like anyone who might wish the group harm, and knew where you'd be?
No.
Bob said flatly without hesitation.
We're not that kind of people. We work, we get together on weekends, we do this trip once a year. Nobody has enemies. That's not our life.
Martin nodded.
Walk me through everything, from the time you arrived in Centralia until this morning. Everything you can remember.
We got in yesterday afternoon, around 2, maybe 2:30. Checked in here, dropped our bags, then we went for lunch. At that diner on the main road. After that, we walked over to the hunting shop, just to browse. Phil ended up buying a new scope. Spent about 20 minutes talking to the man behind the counter about it. Then we just walked around town for a while. Looked in some of the shop windows. Nothing specific, just passing time. We came back here for dinner, ate at the hotel restaurant. Then we went to the bar down the street for drinks.
Which bar?
Hannigan's, I think. The one with the green sign.
Okay. Go on.
We were there maybe 2 hours. It was a good night. Everybody was in a good mood. Phil got talking to a woman at the bar. A young woman, late 20s maybe. She had that kind of look, you know? Long skirts, lots of beads. A hippie type.
Just Phil?
Phil and Thomas both ended up sitting with her. The rest of us were at the other end of the bar. I could see them talking, but I wasn't part of the conversation.
Do you know what they talked about?
She did some kind of tarot reading for them. Phil and Thomas both. I remember thinking it was funny. Phil's not that kind of guy, but he was eating it up.
Martin leaned forward slightly.
Do you know her name?
I never caught it. Like I said, I wasn't over there with them. Only Phil and Thomas really spent time with her.
What happened at the end of the night?
Phil left with her. Just the two of them. Rest of us came back here around 11. Phil didn't show up until maybe 1 in the morning. Said he almost got lucky with the hippie.
Bob's mouth tightened.
We gave him a hard time about it the way you do. Then we all went to bed. Early morning. Hunting trip.
But you didn't go.
My knee.
He patted his left leg.
It's been bad for a couple weeks. I thought I could push through, but when I woke up, I could barely get down the stairs. I told them to go without me. I was gonna rest it and meet them for dinner tonight. That was the last time I saw them.
Martin let a moment pass, and then reached into his jacket and produced a folded road map of the area. He opened it and held it out toward Bob.
Can you show me where the hunting spot was? Where they were headed this morning?
Bob took the map and studied it for a moment, then pressed his finger down on a stretch of wooded land.
Somewhere in here. We have a spot we've used before. Down a dirt trail, barely wide enough for the truck. I've only been in there a few times. My knee's been a problem for a few years now.
Martin took the map back and studied the area Bob had indicated, then folded it and put it away.
Thank you, Bob. I mean that. I know this has been a terrible morning.
Bob looked at the floor and said nothing. Martin stood, buttoned his coat, and nodded to Drew. They let themselves out into the hallway and walked toward the stairwell without speaking until they were outside in the parking lot and the cold air settled around them.
Hannigan's. Before we go anywhere near that hunting spot, I want to find this woman.
You think a bartender would know her?
It's a small town, and she apparently makes an impression.
He opened the car door.
Move on.
Let's find out.
Giddy up.
Hannigan's was dim, even in the middle of the morning. The kind of bar that never quite admitted daylight, regardless of the hour. Two men sat at the opposite end of the counter, nursing coffee, and a woman in her 40s was wiping down the taps with a rag. She looked up when Martin and Drew came through the door. Martin showed his badge, and she sat the rag down.
We're looking for a woman who was in here last night. Late 20s, describes to us as having a bohemian appearance. Long skirts, jewelry. She was doing tarot readings for some of the patrons.
The bartender's expression shifted into something that was not quite a smile.
That's Ingrid.
You know her?
She's in here probably 4 nights a week. Has been for, I don't know, a year now maybe. She comes in, sits at the bar, and the men find their way over to her. She's very pretty. She does the cards for them, and they love it.
I'm hungry.
She picked up the rag again, more out of habit than purpose.
She usually ends up leaving with someone before the night's over.
Every time.
Let's go.
More often than not.
Has she ever caused any trouble here?
Never. She's quiet. She's polite with me. She pays her tab. Whatever she gets up to after she walks out that door is her own business.
Her last name. Do you know it?
Cullum. Ingrid Cullum.
Drew wrote it down.
Do you have an address for her? Anything she might have left on a tab? A check?
She always pays with cash. But I know she lives out of town.
I'm
She's
starving.
mentioned it. Far out, like 40 miles or so. I couldn't tell you more than that.
Martin thanked her, and they stepped back out into the gray morning. The clerk at the town hall was a thin, older man who seemed pleased to have something to do. He pulled the property registration ledgers without complaint and set them on the counter. Martin and Drew went through them methodically. There was no listing for any Ingrid Cow.
Let's go.
No property, no registered address, nothing. Drew turned a page and ran his finger down a column, then stopped.
George Callum. Property registered 1966.
Martin leaned over and looked. The listed address placed the property approximately 40 miles outside of Centralia, out along the rural road that wound northeast through the forest. Martin unfolded his map on the counter and found the road. He traced it with his finger until he located the approximate position of the property. Then held the map flat and found the spot Bob had pressed his finger against that morning. Less than a mile separated them. He folded the map slowly.
George Callum is probably a relative. Father. Maybe an uncle.
Possibly.
Martin buttoned the top button of his coat.
What I know is that Ingram Talum did tarot readings for our victims, leaves with one. And it just so turns out that a property registered to someone with her surname sits less than a mile from where our victims went to go hunting.
He picked up the map.
That makes her our primary suspect.
Drew looked at him.
You think a woman in her late 20s did that to 4 armed men?
I think she may not have done it alone.
He moved towards the door.
Let's go find her and see what else this story has to say.
They drove out of Centralia as the clouds thickened overhead, and the tree line on either side of the road grew denser, the oaks giving way to older firs that pressed close to the shoulder. The address was 41 miles by the odometer, along a road that became gravel after the first 30, the stones clicking up against the undercarriage as they pushed further into the trees. Neither of them spoke for most of the drive. The house looked less like something that had been constructed and more like something that had simply accumulated over decades. The walls thick with climbing vines, the porch sagging gently under the weight of ceramic planters and stacked firewood. The roof line was irregular in a way that suggested additions made without much planning, and the whole structure sat back from the road as though it had been slowly retreating into the tree line behind it. A Chrysler Windsor, old, dark green, sat in the dirt out front with a film of mud along its lower panels. Two boys were crouched near the base of a large fir, arranging sticks into some configuration that had meaning only to them. When the car came to a stop, the smaller one looked up, stared for half a second, then scrambled to his feet and ran for the front door without a word. The older boy stood up slowly and watched them get out of the car with an expression that was more curious than alarmed. Martin and Drew had barely made it to the edge of the porch steps when the front door opened and a man came out holding a rifle loose at his side. He was in his early 30s, broad across the shoulders, with a kind of stillness in his posture that came either from confidence or from living far from other people for a long time.
Help you with something?
Martin held up his badge.
My name's Martin Stanze. I'm a detective investigating the deaths of 4 men found in George Washington Park this morning. I'm looking for an Ingrid Callum. I have reasons to believe she was among the last people to see those men alive, and I'd like to speak with her.
The man looked at the badge, then at Martin, then at Drew. He leaned down and set the rifle against the porch railing.
George Callum. Ingrid's my wife. She's inside.
He pushed the door open and held it.
Come on in.
The interior was dim and smelled like wood smoke or something herbal. The furniture was mismatched, but not uncomfortable looking, and every flat surface held something. Candles or dry bundles of plants or small arrangements of stones and feathers. George led them to a dining table near the back of the main room and pulled up chairs.
Sit down. I'll go get her.
He disappeared down the hallway. Martin and Drew settled into their chairs, and a moment later, 2 boys appeared in the doorway to the dining room, the younger one half hidden behind his brother's shoulders. The older boy walked in and stood at the corner of the table with his arms at his side. "I'm David, and this is my brother, Henry." Henry raised one hand briefly in a wave.
Good to meet you, boss. I'm Martin. I'm here to talk to your mother for a little while.
David studied him with a directness that was unusual for a child his age. "Are you here to fight our dad?" Martin blinked.
No. Why would you think that?
Henry stepped out from behind his brother. "People show up a lot and they want to fight Dad. A lot of people don't like him," David added, in the tone of someone stating a simple fact. Martin kept his expression neutral.
Why would people want to fight your father?
"Because of Mom. The men see her and they want her, and they want to fight Dad to get her." Martin looked at Drew briefly, then back at the boys.
I see. And has anyone ever actually fought him?
David did not have to think about this. "Oh yeah, all the time. And Dad's very strong," Henry said, with evident pride.
Oh, I see. It's good to have a strong dad, isn't it? If you don't mind me asking, what did you boys get up to yesterday?
"The forest," Henry said immediately. "We were in the forest all day. We found a bear skull," David added. "A big one. We brought it back and put it in the woodpile."
Do you go far into the forest?
"Pretty far. We know all the trails."
Do you ever see other people out there? Hikers, hunters?
David shrugged. "Sometimes hunters come through in the fall, mostly."
Did you see any hunters yesterday?
David looked at Henry. Henry looked at the table. "No," David said. Martin nodded slowly.
Do you boys go to school in town?
"Mom teaches us here," Henry added.
What are you studying right now?
"The sums," Henry said, making a face. "And reading," David said. "Mom's been reading us old stories. Old ones from before regular books."
Do you like them?
"Some of them are scary," Henry added. "But David likes the scary ones." "And someone has to," David said without apology. Martin smiled faintly. He let the conversation rest for a moment and glanced down the hallway where George had disappeared. The house was quiet except for the sound of wind against the irregular roofline. Drew leaned slightly toward Martin and said, under his breath,
It's taken a long time.
He is.
He turned back to the boys.
David, Henry, would you mind going and telling your dad and your mom that we're ready when they are?
The boys looked at each other, then ran off down the hallway, with the particular thundering energy of children who have been sitting still longer than they wanted to. Their footsteps receded, a door opened somewhere, and the house went quiet again. Martin and Drew sat without speaking. Somewhere outside, a branch scraped against the window. A candle in the sideboard had burned low enough that its light barely reached the center of the table. After another 2 minutes, footsteps returned down the hallway, slower this time. George came in first. Behind him came Ingrid. She was, as the bartender had suggested, and as Bob Ellers had not quite found the words for, very striking. She was tall and dark-haired, with a kind of composed, unhurried quality in her movement that made the room seem to rearrange itself around her. She was wearing an ornate gypsy dress, flowing with beads and flowery laces. She met Martin's eye as she sat down across from him, but did not look away. George sat beside her and folded his hands on the table. Martin opened his notepad.
Thank you both for making the time.
Martin clicked the recorder on and set it on the table.
Ingrid, I'd like to hear from you about last night. You were at Hannigan's bar and you spent time with 2 of the victims. Can you walk me through what you remember?
Ingrid opened her mouth, but was interrupted.
I killed them.
The room went still. Martin looked at him.
All 4 of them.
He was not agitated. His hands were still folded on the table. Martin reached over and picked up the recorder.
Mr. Callum, you're telling me you're responsible for the deaths of Carl Detman, Roy Detman, Phil Okafor, and Thomas Bridewell.
That's right.
I need you to tell me how, and I need you to tell me why.
George unfolded his hands and placed them flat on the table.
Well, the why is simple. Men like that, they come out from the city every year, and they walk into the forest like they own it. They don't even know its name. They don't know what lives in it. They don't know its importance and what's to come. They take from it and they leave, and they never think once about what they've taken from.
He paused.
The forest doesn't forget that. And I speak for the forest.
Martin kept his voice even.
And how, Mr. Callum?
I told the trees about them.
Martin looked at him for a long moment.
What does that mean?
It means I told the trees, and the trees took them out.
Drew had stopped writing.
Mr. Callow,
Martin said, catching the wrong name and correcting himself immediately.
Mr. Callum, you are telling me that trees killed 4 men?
I'm telling you, I told the trees to do it. Yes.
And the wounds on their bodies, trees did that by themselves.
Those trees have many parts,
George said simply. Martin set the recorder down. He looked at Ingrid, who was sitting with her hands in her lap and her eyes on the surface of the table. She had not spoken a single word since entering the room. He looked back at George.
George Callum, I'm placing you under arrest for the murders of Carl Detman, Roy Detman, Phil Okafor, and Thomas Bridewell. You'll be coming back with us to be processed and charged. Do you understand what I'm telling you?
I understand. I'll go without any trouble.
Martin stood and drew his cuffs from his belt. George rose from his chair and turned around without being asked, placing his wrists together behind his back. Martin fastened the cuffs and checked them, then took George by the arm and nodded to Drew. They came out through the front door into the gray afternoon light. Both cars were gone. Martin stopped walking. He looked at the space where the vehicles had been, at the unmarked dirt where the tires should have left clear impressions. There was nothing. No tracks leading away from the spot, no disturbed gravel, no oil marked on the ground. The Chrysler Windsor was gone as well. The dirt in front of the house was as smooth and
I made
undisturbed
sure
as a swept
before
floor.
they're not supposed
Martin
to be
tightened his
eating.
grip on George's arm.
Where are the cars?
George looked at the empty space
Hi.
with an expression of mild satisfaction.
The trees took them.
That is not an answer.
It's the only answer I have for you.
Drew was standing
No.
at Martin's shoulder, pointing out that there were no
Why
tracks.
aren't there
I see
in there?
it.
It's 40 miles to town. It'll be dark in 3 hours. We don't have
Birch
food. We
and
don't have
roach.
water. We don't have a working radio out here, and our only vehicle is gone. What the hell is happening right now?
Drew, you need to calm down.
George began to laugh. It was a low sound, the laugh of a man who's found something privately amusing.
You're both gonna die out here. You understand that, right? You shouldn't have come. This is the forest grounds, and you're standing on it with a badge and a notepad, thinking that it means something.
Martin stood in the silence for a moment, his hand still on George's arm, and turned the situation over with the same methodical patience he applied to everything. Walking 40 miles in the dark with a cuffed prisoner and a shaken apprentice was not viable. Staying at the house was equally untenable. The road back to Centralia was a single gravel track through dense forest, and they had no light source beyond what the cloud-covered sky would offer, which in another few hours would be nothing at all.
The hunting spot.
Martin said quietly, more to himself than to Drew. Drew looked at him.
What about it?
Bob marks it less than a mile from here. If those men drove out to that location this morning, there may still be a vehicle out there. Their truck, whatever they came in.
Drew blinked and then straightened slightly.
Bob said they drove out to the spot.
Martin looked at the road and then at the tree line, orienting himself against his memory of the map.
It's less than a mile. We can be there in 20 minutes. Proceeding on foot to the victim's vehicle location northeast of the Callum property. Prisoner George Callum in custody. Time, approximately 3 in the afternoon.
He released the button and looked at Drew.
Stay close. Don't walk off the road for any reason.
Drew nodded and said nothing, though his eyes moved briefly to the tree line in a way that suggested the instruction had landed with more weight than Martin had intended. George walked between them at an easy pace, as though the cuffs behind his back were of no more consequence than a loose jacket. The gravel crunched under their feet, and the firs pressed close on either side, their upper branches knitting together overhead into a ceiling that littered what remained of the afternoon light into something thin and colorless.
You both live in the city,
George said. It was not a question. Neither of them answered.
You've got your cars, and your electric lights, and your phones, all that wire strung between poles, all that concrete poured over the ground so you don't have to touch it.
He tilted his head slightly as he walked, as though he was listening to something in the trees.
Do you think that's progress? You think distance from the natural world is something you've earned?
Mr. Callum, you don't need to talk.
No, I don't. But you should hear this before it's over. There's something very old that has been watching what men have been building. Something that was here before the first stone was ever set. All this machinery, all this industry.
No.
This is our turn,
Martin said, folding the map. Drew looked at the trail. The tree cover was immediate and dense, the path swallowed by shadow within 40 feet of the road.
I don't like it.
George looked at him.
You're right not to.
Don't do that.
He's right. The trail goes through the old growth. Those trees have been there longer than the state has
to it with his knuckle held against his chest like a small shield.
What if he's telling the truth? He's not telling the truth. He's a man in handcuffs who killed 4 people and is trying to frighten us into making a poor decision. The truck is down here. We need the truck. What if it's not there? Then we'll make another decision. Come on.
Drew looked at the trees for another moment, and then stepped onto the trail behind him. George ran. He turned off the path to the left and simply bolted, straight into the forest, his cuffed arms locked behind his back, his body tilting forward at a sharp angle to compensate. He was fast, far faster than men in his position had any right to be, and within seconds, the dark green of his jacket was flickering between the trunks and then gone entirely. Martin was already moving. He got 3 strides into the trees before he stopped himself. The forest was very quiet. He stood still and listened. George's footsteps had already ceased. No cracking branches, no rustling undergrowth, nothing. The man had disappeared into the old growth as cleanly as the wildlife that called it home. Martin walked back to the trail, and Drew was standing exactly where he had been. Not having moved an inch. Do we go after him? Martin looked into the trees for a long moment.
Prisoner George Callum fled custody at approximately 3:15 on foot into forested area northeast of Centralia. Pursuits deemed inadvisable. We get to the truck, we drive back into town, we get a proper search team, and we come back with more people and more light.
He started down the trail without waiting for Drew's response. After a moment, Drew
He's got a letter outside, you know.
the trail for perhaps 10 minutes when Martin stopped walking. Drew nearly walked into it. In the center of the path, occupying the corner of the trail between
He's outside. He's out.
church.
It's my back. It's on fire.